Dang it. Hey, y'all. Give me 1 second, and I'll be right back. Alright, y'all. It is April. I don't know what day. The 9th. We're looking at it right now. It's April the 8th. Or something. 2019. I'm getting all the updates. Y'all checking out my screen. Let's see if I can get this live up and going. I wonder if the audio is good. Alright, it says I got one person watch me. Oh man. Alright. Okay, it says I don't remember exactly. I don't know if that's Yesenia watching right now. What up, whoever's watching? Alright. I forget who it is, but alright. Hello YouTube. Shoot, I didn't know. Hey, what's going on? What is going on right now? Let me know. Let everybody know if you got the skinny on what's going down on Parkland. It's gonna be some Parkland talk, I guess, real quick. I didn't want to have to edit anything, and YouTube. It's terrifying. It's terrifying me at this point. And y'all already know I've been talking a mess about YouTube for a while, so it's not new to me. But it is terrifying me. It is a nightmare at this point. It says I got 2 people on here. I appreciate y'all. If anybody else comes in, feel free to interject. It's just, I guess the plan right now was to go over some recent articles that I had checked out that maybe you'd checked out as well. I wanted to go over that sort of stuff real briefly, just because, it's a snowball. What it is an avalanche of news, and it's been that way for a while, considering Parkland. It's been a damn avalanche, all right? And so you really can't cover it fast enough. That is the problem. There's always developments. As far as Parkland, I can't. Let me see if I can take out the comments because I can't see. As you can see right here, I got 3 articles lined up. And we're going to go through them pretty fast. In fact, the first one we're going to go through real fast. All right? And I just wanted to skim over it. In fact, I don't even think we could read it because it's from the Washington Post. They want $1, right? They want some money for me to read it. I already got a dang subscription to Sun Sentinel, and I'm embarrassed to say that. It's just that they have so much material that I had to get a stinking subscription to them. And I'm about to cancel it, actually, because I don't want them in my life. But here, the Washington Post is also doing the same thing. You already know. You've been out there on the internet, and you can see that illegitimate publications are now asking for all sort of money and handouts and begging for money because they can't make any. This is actually an article from a while back. This one's from a while back. The other 2 are going to be fairly recent. It says people think she's a Parkland crisis actor, and I actually saw the article before they blocked me and put this damn thing in front of my way. And I read it. And basically, it's exactly what you think. Here's a lady. She's a vegan chef. It probably is all made up. She probably is an actress. Probably is getting paid. She said her name's Emma Gonzalez as well. And I believe it, I guess. And she said people were terrorizing her because her name's Emma Gonzalez. Right? How many hundreds of people in the United States alone do you think is called Emma Gonzalez? All right. And then outside of the United States, I mean, that has to be a popular name, right? So she was like, oh man, people came and they're terrorizing me and I'm all terrorized. And basically, everybody's bad, who thinks that this is wrong, who thinks that everything is made up as far as Parkland. Y'all are bad. Y'all are going to hunt me down in New York City and terrorize my life. That's the end of the article, basically. I don't know what else we would talk about that. All right. So there's that article. I'm going to just run through them. If y'all have a comment, I'm going to go ahead and check it from time to time. I'm not sure which one that I want to go in first. Let me just show you what we're looking at. If you haven't seen them yet, this one, suspended Broward Sheriff Scott Israel's job shopping in Opelika. All right, it's from the Miami Herald. And trust me, I've gone through it. Trust me, it's ridiculous. We're about to go through it. But I'm not sure which one we want to go through first. Oh, don't you tell me something like that. I don't know if it got rid of it. We might be able to find it again. But the other article is from the Sun Sentinel, and I do pay a subscription, so they will allow me to read it. Parkland shooter scrawls childish love letters from jail. I really want kids. You know the joy that they bring, all right? And I already read through this one last night, all right? So I know what it's about, and I know that there's dozens and dozens of articles that are the exact same as this, all right? So this is all over the place. If you have any kind of concern for Parkland, you've already probably heard about it at least. And let's see, let's go back. Because I don't even want the Emma Gonzalez thing. We'll get rid of that. But I definitely want to go back to the Opelika. In fact, I think we'll start with that. I think that's a good place to start with, right? And as you already know, it's real easy to lose articles because they're all basically written the same and in slight variations. It's extremely frustrating and it's disgusting at very best. All right, so suspended, blah, blah, blah. I think it's the same thing as Miami Herald right here. We got it back. Suspended Broward Sheriff Scott Israel job shopping in Opelika, Florida. Now, before we dive into it, because I know a lot of people, chomping at the bit. I don't know what happened at Parkland, right? People could have very well died at the school, all right? That being said, the actors and actresses who are in the whole gun reform drive, they are actors and actresses, all right? Point blank period. There's no getting around it. If they are legitimate students from Parkland, it changes nothing. They are actors and actresses. I am not going to contact not one of them, all right? Never in my life do I see myself talking to any of these people or threatening them or stalking them or hunting them down. That's not going to happen, all right? That sounds like a nightmare for me if I were to do that. I'm not going to do that, and I suggest for everybody out there to not ever talk to any of these people. All right. Suspended Broward Sheriff Scott Israel job shopping in Opelika is so that I got that all established. All right. We're going to dive into some of the nuance of this whole situation, and it is a terrifying situation. It's a nightmare situation. It is on the horizon. It is approaching. It is fast approaching. All right. And so I just wanted to put out a little bit of an alarm. Let's go ahead and read through it for people who like to read. Former Sheriff Scott Israel has insisted that his removal from office was a naked power grab and that he will be reinstated as Broward's top lawman one way or another. Which, that sounds like nefarious. That kind of sounds threatening. We've already established it. We've already gone over it a long time ago. That's absolutely not what took place, all right? Sheriff Scott Israel is describing it as a power play, as largely political, as in the citizens of Broward County really, 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 really want Scott Israel back in order to protect them, all right? Because they're so scared without Scott Israel. That is not the case. Nobody misses Scott Israel, all right? His GoFundMe failed terribly. He's a wild failure with Scott Israel. And the only reason in which you could describe Ron DeSantis, who's talking about the governor of Florida, the only reason you could describe it as a power play is in that Scott Israel's removal was so incredibly popular, all right, that Ron DeSantis had no choice but to start promising everybody Scott Israel's removal. And that's one of the big things that actually got Ron DeSantis into office, if not the biggest thing, is his promise to remove Scott Israel. And then the people of Broward went ahead and agreed. So let's go ahead and just read the rest of this. He's also hedging his bets. In a power play of his own, one county south, Israel has emerged as one commissioner's favorite candidate for police chief in Opelika. That might sound bizarre. It's about to get more bizarre. It's a would-be marriage that links Broward's most controversial politician with Miami-Dade's most chaotic and dysfunctional city. If you haven't heard of Opelika, I have. I've been hearing about it. It's been in rap songs and stuff. I've been knowing about Opelika, okay? And it has politicians and observers on both sides of the county line reaching for their popcorn. Oh, I'm glad for that. They should get their popcorn out. Opelika Commissioner Alvin Burke appears poised to push for the hiring of Israel, who worked for decades at Fort Lauderdale Police Department before a short stint as police chief in North Bay Village. He was elected sheriff in 2012, overseeing Broward's Sheriff's Office, 5,600 sworn and civilian personnel. Standing in Burke's way is interim city manager Newell J. Daughtry, and possibly the city's charter, all right, i.e. their laws. In March 27th email, Daughtry accused Burke of trying to strong-arm him into hiring Israel. Strong-arm him? Well, that's weird. Please understand that I cannot follow your directive to terminate the chief of police and hire Scott Israel at this time for reasons discussed. Daughtry wrote to Burke without elaborating on what his reasons were. Daughtry's attorney, Michael Peasy, then wrote to Governor Ron DeSantis' chief investigator, Melinda Miguel, who doubles as the head of the state government oversight board, seeking help in protecting Daughtry's job. And he's going to need some help protecting his job pretty soon, I'm pretty sure of it. All financial transactions in Opelika, including employee contracts, must be approved by an oversight board established by Governor Rick Scott in 2015 when he declared a state of emergency. A state of emergency in Opelika. Like I said, I've heard of Opelika, all right? And no, I haven't heard good things. The action followed a whistleblower complaint that the city was in financial ruin. All right. Now the board is overseen by DeSantis, who was sharply critical of Israel during his campaign and wasted little time in removing him the heck up out of office. How could you blame him? All right. Like I said, extremely popular, the removal. Israel's attorney, Ben Cooney, reiterated Israel's desire to return to office in Broward. And you might even remember that. All right, so let's talk about it a little bit. Sheriff Israel was elected by the people of Broward County to serve as sheriff through the election of 2020, Cooney said Monday. He fully intends to fulfill the will of Broward voters. He fully intends to serve in the capacity of sheriff of Broward County and is currently challenging the government's actions and suspending him for reasons Sheriff Israel maintains are not supported by the Florida Constitution. Oh man, I wonder how long this article even goes for. Kind of goes for a while. Let's read through it real quick. Let's see if we can read through it real quick, because I don't want to miss anything. Oh man, it's a lot. Okay, Cooney declined to specify whether Israel's wishes to be Broward Sheriff or Opelika's police chief. He is a career law enforcement officer, Cooney said, to the extent that he can provide guidance to any government entity or municipality concerning effective law enforcement. He is honored to be able to do that. At the moment, he is mostly providing more turmoil. When Daughtry refused to hire Israel, Burke began efforts to fire Daughtry. All right, and we're seeing the rest of this article, and I don't want to spend too long on it. It talks about how Daughtry was a whistleblower at a certain point, but you get the gist of it already. Okay, you got a Sheriff Israel. All right, his man Burke is trying to get him all up in a cushy spot over there in Opelika. Opelika is basically almost in ruins. It's almost a failed city. It's really, really bad. Crime and corruption just it's running wild. And the thing is, Burke was like, hey, let's bring in Sheriff Scotty Israel. We need him real bad over here to fix the place up. All right, real bad. And then you got this guy Daughtry. He's saying, hey, no, that's kind of against the law. You're kind of strong-arming me into doing something that isn't kosher at all. And it's against the law. It's against our charter and stuff, and I can't be doing this. All right, so then Burke's like, no, I need to fire Daughtry. I need to fire everybody. I need to fire the current sheriff. I need to fire everybody and bring in Israel. All right. Meanwhile, if that's not absurd enough, Israel actually wants to be the sheriff of Broward County still. All right. So let's imagine Burke goes ahead and he fires Daughtry. He fires the current sheriff. He fires anyone he likes, no matter what the laws are. All right. And then he hires Sheriff Israel to totally fix his situation in Opelika. All right. It already is 2019. We're like halfway through it. So if Sheriff Israel wanted to be the sheriff of Broward County in 2020, that means what? He's going to be Opelika police chief for half a year? Like, that makes any damn sense at all. It doesn't make any sense. I'm here to tell you. I thought about it. It doesn't make a lick of sense. But what it is completely and utterly political. All right. What it is you got this guy Burke, and he's trying to get his little criminal buddy. All right. You know what I'm saying? They're little, they're thick as thieves, if you will. He's trying to get his buddy a cushy job over there in Opelika. It's very much swimming in corruption. All right. And it's just on its face disturbing. All right. But they really don't give a damn over there in South Florida. I'm here to tell you. All right. So that's just to kind of set the mood. Everything is extremely corrupt. It is all about power plays. It is largely political. You're going to find that Burke is certainly a Democrat and a Democrat donor, all right? This always comes back to that. Always, all right? So with that being said, I want to check the comments real quick, see if y'all said anything, and then we'll get back to reading the other article. I just finished reading those letters. Oh, man. See, we're about to get into the letters. We're not going to read the whole letters, all right, because I don't know how long they are. I just got wind of it. Last night. But we are going to go over the Sun Sentinel article, in which it shows kind of the interesting parts, if you were to call it that, of the whole situation. And the headline does kind of draw you in. The headline does kind of entice. It enticed me, at least. Parkland shooter scrawls a childish, gosh dang, with all these, as Parkland shooter scrawls childish love letters from jail. I really want kids. You know the joy that they bring. All right, so immediately from the onset, from the headline, you realize something's really wrong here. All right, because if it was up to the Sun Sentinel, if it was up to I don't know, 97% of all Americans, they would want Nicholas Cruz to rot in jail forever and ever. Evidence be damned. It doesn't matter if there's evidence or not, but throw him in jail forever and ever, or kill him and watch him die. All right, and I wish that I was just like embellishing. No, that really is the case. So as far as, you know, him wanting kids and stuff like that, a lot of people would see that as fantastical. If this is a real drawing done by Nicholas Cruz, a lot of people would be very concerned by it. It looks very concerning. We're way past Twilight Zone though, so it doesn't matter what information they're gonna throw out. All right, Nicholas Cruz is still very much guilty. He's the worst person in the world. All right, so we're about to read this article, and it's going to blow our minds, and then we're going to get up out of here. All right, but it's crucial, and that's why we're here right now. So I thought we'd go ahead and read it. In childlike scrawl with stick figure drawings, Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz has been writing love letters from jail to a young woman overseas. Now, you might have remembered, and I know I covered a little bit, there was apparently all sort of fan mail coming to Nicholas Cruz at a certain point. All right, I checked on that some months ago, and from what we were being told, and who knows, because everybody's lying in these situations, but from what we were being told is that Nicholas Cruz was not being given any of his fan mail. All right, at all. It was all basically just being taken, looked over, crumpled up, thrown out in the garbage. That's what they told us was happening. All right, that does not seem to be the case according to this new article. All right, because there's love letters from him back and forth to a young woman overseas, I believe in the UK, and we're about to discuss it. In the letters, he proposes marriage, which is, you know, that's kind of endearing. If that is a real thing, and if any of this is a real thing. So in the letters, he proposes marriage, muses about having children, and says he wants to name his sons after guns. All right, so we don't have to get too far into this article before we know just why we're being told this information very strategically. But he never mentions shooting 34 people in cold blood, killing 17 of them at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. The South Florida Sun Sentinel obtained 46 pages, in which I believe Yesenia has already read through them all. She might want to leave a comment, let us know, or make a video, or I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people are going to make videos in reference to this 46 pages of handwritten letters from the Broward State's Attorney's Office. They are part of a legal case as the state attorney seeks the death penalty against the now 20-year-old for the February 14, 2018 Parkland shooting. The records did not include any letters to Cruz from the girl. All right, so before we dive a little bit further, I just want to point out the absurd nature of what we're looking at. All right, these are love letters between one person and another person, and one person happens to be in prison, and there happens to be a trial and stuff like that, right? It's not even close to any of our business. The idea that we're even reading this, I can't even hardly believe it. Right? The fact that people are allowing for this, but here's the thing, it's kind of a rope-a-dope. Of course, Nicholas Cruz is the worst monster ever, and he's absolutely 100% guilty, even before being proven guilty. So therefore, we have the rights to do just whatever we can think of, and it doesn't matter. His privacy doesn't matter. None of his rights matter. Nothing, to the point where we're just gonna peruse through all his love letters like it's any of our business, and it isn't. I'm not blaming Yesenia for going through them, because it's available to us, so we really should read through them, but it should have never ever been made available to us. All right, I just wanted to stress that before we go any further. Cruz's letters, rife with misspellings and childish drawings, could have implications for his criminal trial. A lifelong special education student, Cruz was thought to have autism. He also was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Pretty much anything that they could throw at Nicholas Cruz, they've been throwing at him. You got this disorder. You got that disorder. You got this sort of disorder. Something's wrong with you. School is correct, but you're wrong. You're wrong for being who you are. We're the normal ones, and you're bad. You have all sort of disorders, right? And that's how it's always been. You can start to understand why Nicholas Cruz is the way that he is, why he gets down on himself from time to time. He was developmentally delayed and was placed in a special education starting well before kindergarten. He never learned to drive, but he did ride a bike. All right. So before I go any further, just in general, I want to talk to y'all about children out there in general. All right, trust me, I know people with children. I have a child. So what I've noticed is that a lot of children these days, and you probably notice the same thing, holler if you hear me, a lot of children out there are becoming developmentally delayed in different various regards, but a very popular thing is in speech. A lot of children are being very delayed in speech. Maybe they're not talking until 4 or 5 years old. All right, I was kind of this way, and that was back in the day. I didn't talk. I really didn't talk until, like I said, until I was like 4 and stuff, and people were real concerned about it. I kind of find out that, actually it runs in my family history a little bit, all right? But I noticed that it's very prevalent these days, especially with children talking, all right? And then the article mentions right here that Nicholas Cruz never learned how to drive, all right? What I want to explain just ever so briefly is that the way a human brain works, the way the mind works, just speaking in generalities, is it's not going to learn something that it doesn't need to. All right. So when it comes to the case of speaking and stuff, a lot of these children aren't speaking. They're becoming developmentally delayed simply because it isn't worth it to talk. It's not worth it. All right, either they get everything they want without talking, which sometimes is the case, or nobody listens to them at all to begin with. All right, and that's why a lot of children ain't talking anyways. So as far as developmental delays and stuff, yeah, people have a lot of delays. Society is pretty dysfunctional. You can't really blame them. But we're gonna dive further into the article. In a sworn statement, a day after the shooting, family friend Marnie Garvey said Cruz's mother thought that he would never be able to live on his own. And that, by the way, that's typical. It's typical for a mother to think this way, all right? And just speaking in generalities, fathers really don't think that way. Cruz had to come out even without his adopted father. He never met his actual father. His adoptive father died when he was 5. I mean, people have already gotten a picture of what's taking place here. All right. So I just want to focus on that. Focus on who Nicholas Cruz is as a person, how he came up. Quote, she said, "I know he's never going to be able to move out," Garvey told the sheriff's office. Robert Dunham, executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center, a DC-based nonprofit that provides an analysis and information on death penalty issues, said defense attorneys hoping to spare Cruz the death penalty likely would look at whether Cruz's intellect is significantly below average, measured by an IQ test, and his general delay functioning. Generally, a 75 or below meets the criteria. I'm just going to wager a bet that he'll score higher than a 75 if given the opportunity. But to read further, it's unconstitutional in the United States to execute a person with intellectual disabilities. Now, these are all little minor details that all lead back to the same thing. Whether or not we're going to kill Nicholas Cruz. Is he retarded? Is he too retarded to kill him? That's really the only question. And in fact, that's the whole point of this article. It's like, oh man, I don't know if we can kill him. We want to kill him. We want him to rot in jail. But can we do it? Because he seems too retarded. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't want to use that word too much. I don't want to overly use that word, but that's exactly what we're being shown right here. All right, that's the exact question. Meanwhile, past a year later, there still is no evidence that he did it or that he's even capable of doing it. In fact, this article is pretty much showing you it's a good idea that he's not even capable of doing any of this. All right, so in 2014, a Broward Schools assessment found Cruz's reading, math, and writing were below average. He scored 77 on an IQ test. There you go. He already scored 77. All right, but that was years and years ago. So he then scored in the 90s on an IQ test 5 years later. So there you go. All right, it's amazing how these articles just totally like make themselves irrelevant. So it's amazing. All right. So they were just talking about the IQ test. They're talking about 75, and now they're talking about how he's already scored well over that. So Cruz, however, held a steady job. He purchased the weapons, created 2 cell phone videos. Oh, he's a murdering genius, right? So he created 2 cell phone videos stating his intentions to murder people at his former school and used the Uber app to get there. He said, "I'm going to be the next school shooter." 2018, my goal is at least 20 people, Cruz said in one of the videos. The public defender's office has not ruled out using Cruz's mental disabilities to fight the death penalty in the sentencing phase of the trial, a representative said. The office has conceded he will never walk out of prison alive, all right? And you might as well just go ahead and take that sentence and bring it to the bank, all right? The office has conceded he will never walk out of prison alive. Meanwhile, he hadn't even gone through trial. All right, but that's what this is all about. Now, this is going to be kind of a long article. I don't know if we're going to read all through it, but there's definitely some details. All right, we're seeing how long it is. Gosh, so long. So, I read through it last night, but there's some details that we need to know about. All right, so we can't skip over them, unfortunately. It's an excruciating process. All right, but let's go ahead and read it out. Oh my gosh, so long. Such a long article. So he's never gonna walk out of prison alive. That's guaranteed. You could take that to the bank, baby. All right. There's never been such a. I mean, that's just. Anyways, in Florida, the jury must be unanimous in recommending the death penalty. In addition, 2002 U.S. Supreme Court ruling held that execution of a person with mental retardation violates the Eighth Amendment ban on cruel and unusual punishment. There's all sort of cruel and unusual punishment that goes on, but let's not worry about that. The U.S. Supreme Court in 2014 ruled that Florida had too narrow of a standard for determining who is too intellectually disabled. Blah, blah, blah. Cruz was failing most classes when he was asked to leave Stoneman Douglas, blah, blah, blah. If someone is functioning on a level of an 8 or 9-year-old, you can already see. I mean, they're just trying to go over, is he or is he not too retarded? And they're saying for someone functioning on the level of an 8 or 9-year-old, okay, how much do you want to bet an 8 or 9-year-old can go ahead and murder 17 people and shoot up 17 more people and with the greatest of ease slip out of the building while people are watching him? Right? So in his letters, Cruz never mentions his own crime, probably because he doesn't have much to talk about, right? Saying in one of the letters, talking about it, that it would be a bad idea to talk about it. Yeah, probably. But he does tell his female pen pal to listen to Pumped Up Kicks by the band Foster the People. And Foster the People really just can't catch a break on this one. That is a catchy song, all right? It was on top of the charts and stuff for a while. And everybody liked it, and everybody still likes it. But they keep being put on blast, and that's unfortunate. You better run. You better run. Outrun my gun. Better run. Better run. Faster than my bullet. The letters could factor into his trial, and I'm sure that they will. All right, and are part of the trial discovery documents. They offer a look into Cruz's thoughts, many of which appear juvenile or reinforces consuming interest in weaponry, guns. Cruz said he's a huge Second Amendment supporter, even though I'm here in jail for being on the wrong side of law. I still believe it's a special right to have, and I try to encourage everyone to take part in it. All right, so I want to take this moment out to discuss that Nicholas Cruz, he did have an adopted father who was in the Marines. All right, and he probably vaguely remembers him. You know, he died when Cruz was 5. All right, I don't know where Cruz got this from. All right, I don't know that anything is real. I don't know that the love letters are real, but let's just assume hypothetically that they are. All right, and let's assume these are actually Cruz's words. Cruz said he's a huge Second Amendment supporter. Right? He believes it's a special right for people to have. Meanwhile, his very own mom was a Democrat. I don't know exactly what was her line of reasoning as far as the Second Amendment and stuff goes. Maybe there's Democrats out there who really do like the Second Amendment. All right? In that case, I don't know how exactly they're Democrats anymore. But he's talking about how it's a special right of people to be able to protect themselves. Right? Why exactly would a mass murderer even be concerned with these things? Right? It's kind of chilling to think about it. I mean, these could be a completely made up letters, but if they're not letters, if they're not made up letters, if they're actually real, then that would just be another sign pointing you towards that Nicholas Cruz didn't do this. Right? It's just common sense to look at it and think, oh man, possibly Nicholas Cruz didn't do this. All right. But just to read further, the 4th of July is his favorite holiday. I love fireworks and explosions. It's super fun. They put that into the article. They didn't put the whole, just to incriminate Nicholas Cruz. It is shameless. It is disgusting. This will be the first year, in reference to Halloween, that he doesn't go trick-or-treating. Dude, he's 20 years old. All right, so this will be the first year that he doesn't go trick-or-treating. He said he dressed as a soldier. Like I said, his adopted father, a Marine. He dressed as a soldier the year before, wearing body armor and a ballistic helmet. He took his dog Kobe with him. His mother was in the hospital. She died the next day. All right, this is tragic, dude. All right, this can't get more tragic than it. I mean, everybody should fire themselves off of this. All right, the whole Sun Sentinel should fire themselves. Targets, he bragged about his prowess in shooting, saying, "Mom was very happy when I won a medal." Cruz was a member of the JROTC shooting team. It wasn't until I was in JROTC that my shooting skills improved. I was in the marksmanship team at Stoneman & Douglas. I used to shoot pellet guns in the classroom. It was really fun. We set up targets the size of quarters. I was really good at it. This is an idea of like Nicholas Cruz getting along with people, having fun in school, maybe perhaps not being a mass murderer. Politics, all right? Cruz wrote, and we might stop on this because this was the most important note that I wanted to bring. Here's the politics, and you already heard about it before. You might remember a little while back, Nicholas Cruz went ahead and voted from prison. A lot of people were upset by that. They shouldn't have been because it was completely legal to do. He's not guilty of anything. He's not been found guilty of anything. So Cruz wrote several times about the elections and his hope that Republicans would win. This is a 19-year-old little boy. His mother is a Democrat. How many of y'all out there was 19 years old and even had any sort of care in the world for politics? All right. So how bizarre is this? Cruz wrote several times about the elections and his hopes that Republicans would win, specifically Governor Ron DeSantis. And we've already kind of touched on that a while back, but let's touch on it again. Specifically, Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Rick Scott. He said, I can't spell his name, but I know he's Republican, and I'm voting for him. All right, mind you, DeSantis, although there was voter fraud in Broward, guaranteed, DeSantis still won very easily. He very easily became the governor of Florida. So Nicholas Cruz is just pointing out that he also likes DeSantis. He said, I know if we get a Democrat governor, he will take away our rights. All right, and I get chills just thinking about this. Please pray that Ron wins. And I guess the letter was before Ron won. He said, please pray, emphasis on the word pray, that Ron wins. I really don't like liberals. I don't want them winning. They really are dangerous. You understand that this is kind of, I mean, you already understand. This is coming from a supposed mass murderer. They spread lies and are destroying America. We're going to one day be the weakest country with the highest crime rates. Are you liberal or conservative? Let me know. All right, so just to finish this off, and it does go into the fact that he wants kids and stuff, and that he really does not know that nobody plans for him to leave prison alive. All right, he hasn't really gathered that exactly, and you can't blame him for having hope also. But this is a kid, they're trying to describe him as too retarded to kill, even though they still desperately want to kill him. And yet, and still, at 19 years old to 20 years old, he knows that all these gun laws and stuff and all these liberals are out to ruin America because they hate America. And they are, in fact, dangerous people. It's coming from a supposed mass murderer. Alright? And thing is, what I wanted to point out is we've been going over the situation, and trust me, I'm not very confused about it. When it comes to Parkland, most people are freaking lying and deserve to be placed in prison for their lies. Meanwhile, they're skating by thinking, oh, well, Obama passed these laws. Oh, this and that. Yeah, we can lie to the public. Oh, yeah, propaganda is legal now. We can totally make up everything. Oh, and we're just going to get away with it. That might remind you of a Juicy Smollett who done the same thing in front of everybody's eyes just right now. Where you can lie and you can put people in danger, and you can lie and lie and lie your ass off, and guess what? It's legal. Alright? Oh, Obama said it. Alright, so that's what we're dealing with. Very dangerous people. Alright? Who are definitely lying, who are definitely actors and actresses. No matter if they get paid to be an actor or an actress, they're still acting. Alright? But what I want to point out is there's a lot of key figures involved in this. And there's a lot of people who look very suspicious. All right, we don't know who all is in on the lie. You could assume that the children whose profession it is to talk about taking away all our guns, you could assume that they're lying. All right, either that or they're plumb retarded. But however, when it comes to Ron DeSantis and those sort of people, when it comes to like Rick Scott and Pam Bondi and the list goes on, it's hard to tell whether or not they're lying. It's really hard to tell. But when it comes to articles like these, it becomes very clear. Let's say, for example, if a Ron DeSantis was in on this scheme since day one, which he would have had to been, all right? He would have had to been on it from day one. If he was in on it, then why in the world would he agree to this, what we're looking at? Why would he want the mass murderer to agree with him and support him and all his policies? The short answer is that he wouldn't want that. He certainly wouldn't want that. All right. So what I'm getting at is, okay, this is a drill. Let's say it was a drill, hypothetically. Let's say the people are acting because we're positive that they are acting. That they're making a lot of shit up. That a lot of their so-called facts contradict each other. Nobody cares that there's no evidence. All right. Ron DeSantis seems to be out of the loop. All right. Ron DeSantis isn't in on the scheme because none of this would make sense for him. All right. There'd be no reason for him to volunteer for this tomfoolery. All right. That being said, what we're looking at, and I'm about to check the comments, see what y'all wrote and stuff, and see if there's anything else to discuss. But what I believe we're looking at is a race against time. Right? I think Ron DeSantis and those who are in his camp, who are believing the way he's believing, I believe that they do know, they have great suspicion that a lot of this is tomfoolery. All right? And I do believe that they want to get their ducks in a row in order to prove to everybody that amazing, unaffordable shenanigans went off that February 14th, 2018. Right? And I don't know if they're building their case or what they're doing. I don't know if they're trying to line it up to where Sheriff Israel needs to land in prison for a very long time, him and his cohorts, and he's going to have a lot of different cohorts, and they all need to go to prison. And I'm not talking about lose their job. They already lost their job. They need to go to prison. They need to go up under the prison. But it seems like a race against time because these people running this, what you might want to call it a hoax or whatever, propaganda, those people absolutely want DeSantis's head, all right, on a silver platter, and they'll stop at nothing, all right? They're so desperate, like a cornered raccoon in your garage, they will do anything, all right? And they're fixing to do anything in order to make sure that all y'all's rights are taken away. And I want to leave out on a couple of notes. I'm going to check out the comments in a second, but I want to remind y'all that all these people who want to get rid of guns, who want to take away rights and stuff, all these people, every last one of them, if given the opportunity, if they were given a choice whether or not people should have guns or whether or not they'd rather just shoot you in your face, blow your brains out, if they were given the choice, they'd rather blow your brains out than to let you have a gun, right? And they're going to say all sort of things like, oh, we don't want your guns. I don't know why you think it. I don't know why you think so. Because y'all won't shut up about it. That's why. All right? And to let y'all know, the thing is, from what I've seen, Ron DeSantis needs to hurry up. All right? I mean, this is a touchy situation because most people's brains will literally melt if given the actual truth. That's why they run away from the truth. And I know that's what Ron DeSantis and people like that are dealing with, the general public. And the fact is they simply can't handle the truth. All right, but the truth needs to come out. As far as Ron DeSantis is concerned, the truth needs to come out sooner than later because he will be destroyed off of this. All right, these are vicious, like I say, cornered animals. All right, they're doing God knows what. They're going for all sort of power plays. All right, they will stop at nothing. All right, so let me check out the comments and see what people have been writing and stuff, and then we're gonna get up out of here because I gotta get ready to go to work. So, hey Gerard, we got Roseanne in the house. All right, there's a lot of people that are very, very keen on the subject. I was always worried about my kids, says Roseanne. All right, I was always worried about my kids would never go off on their own, and they didn't have developmental problems. That's true, man. That's true. I guess that's another note that we're going to leave off on is, a lot of kids, myself included, did not exactly have what it takes as little baby birds to fly off from the nest. We didn't have what it takes simply because society was kind of retarding us. All right, and I don't know if that was by design or whatnot, but a lot of kids have overcome that. A lot of people have grown up and realized that this is a real world out here. All right, sometimes you got to drive to get to places. Sometimes you got to speak to communicate to people in order to get what you want. All right, but a lot of people are being, delayed socially speaking and stuff. And then you'd be surprised. These children grow up, they come up, and they know how to fend for themselves. They know how to live on their own. They know this and that. They can figure out at the age of 19 that these liberals are out here and that are a danger to your health. All right, these children out here are amazing, and we don't really tend to give them credit where credit is due. Right, and that's going to be a horrible, horrible mistake for us. All right, it says, Yesenia says, who really knows if Nick wrote this letter? Yeah, I'll have to go ahead and agree with that. Who really knows if Nick actually wrote these letters? However, if he did actually write these letters, it's a complete window into what the hell we're dealing with. All right. And to the depravity of all these media outlets. Sun Sentinel, I mean, if they knew what shame was, they'd be ashamed of themselves. all these politicians out here, all the law enforcement involved here, they're all cohorting. They're all what you might call conspiring in order to take our rights away. And it's not for a good reason. They're not going to take our rights away and then just treat us real nice. All right, it's very dangerous, people. And we're going to leave out on this note. He keeps repeating that his mother was very overprotective, but a lot are, and not such a bad thing. The nature of mothers is to be protective. I'll go ahead and agree with that. That's true. Overly protective is another thing. All right, and in fact, a lot of children are stifled by what you might call overly protective mothers. All right, no disrespect to all the mothers out there. It's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It cannot be replaced. All right. That should go without saying, but I just wanted to reiterate, mothers are a wonderful thing. That being said, children typically, ideally, do need a father around. We're talking ideals. And the reason is because, speaking in generalities, a father's nature is not overprotective. And don't get me wrong, a father will destroy you from messing with his children. Right, but at the same time, a father typically encourages his children to go out, to discover, to fail, to learn, to be self-reliant. And mind you, there are mothers who do the same thing, but it's typically a father's nature. It's a father's role. The reason that children have confidence typically is due to their father. It's a yin and yang thing. All right, mothers provide a certain kind of development for a child, and fathers provide a certain kind of development for a child. Meanwhile, each and every child's spirit will call out for their own parents. I'm not talking about adopted parents or step parents or anything like that. I'm talking about their biological parents. All right. And pretty much most children out there are getting the short end of the stick and are getting the shaft completely and utterly. And it's kind of leading to all sort of developmental, what they would call deficiencies. And we've been here long enough, man. I got to go to work. And I appreciate everybody out there. Let's see. Roseanne, what are they trying to point out with that? What are they trying to point out? I'm not sure what they're trying to point out. Just a comment he keeps repeating in his letters. Yes, it is. Who knows what they're trying to point out? Y'all, I appreciate y'all. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. But I got to get out of here. I got to get ready. And I appreciate y'all. It's April the 8th or 9th, 2019.